It all began on a seemingly ordinary morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee and scrolling through emails on my laptop. My wife, Laura, was bustling around the kitchen, getting ready for her day. She was humming a tune, something cheerful, like nothing was wrong. And maybe that's what bothered me the most, how normal she acted when I had begun to suspect everything was far from it. Laura and I had been married for 10 years. We'd built a life together, a house, and a dream we both worked hard to achieve. Or so I thought. But over the past few months, things had started to change. She seemed distant, always on her phone, laughing at things she wouldn't share with me. Her late nights working, her sudden interest in her appearance, and the way she avoided my questions. It all started adding up. At first, I dismissed it. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid. But then, a few weeks ago, I saw her smile at her phone in a way she hadn't smiled at me in years. That's when I knew I had to find out the truth. I didn't confront her right away. No, I played it cool. I'd seen enough movies to know that jumping the gun would only give her a chance to cover her tracks. Instead, I started paying attention. I noted the times she said she'd be working late, the moments when she stepped out to take a work call, and the excuses she made for not being home. I checked our shared bank account and noticed strange charges, dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, gifts I hadn't received. Slowly but surely, the pieces of the puzzle started coming together. One night, while she was in the shower, I took her phone. My hands trembled as I opened her messages, scrolling through conversations that confirmed my worst fears. She had been seeing someone else, someone she referred to as Jay. The messages weren't just flirtatious. They were explicit, filled with plans and promises. My heart sank, but I kept reading, needing to see it all. That's when the rage hit me. I wanted to storm into the bathroom, confront her, demand answers. But then I stopped myself. No, I thought. She's been playing me this whole time. It's time for me to play her. Over the next few days, I acted like nothing was wrong. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, asked about her day in the evenings, and even complimented her on the effort she'd been putting into her appearance. All the while I was making my own plans. The first thing I did was hire a private investigator. If I was going to confront her, I needed more than just text messages. I needed proof she couldn't deny. The PI worked fast, and within a week, he'd gathered enough evidence to blow her lies apart. Photos, videos, timestamps, and even details about her lover, Jason. He was younger than me, flashier, the kind of guy who drove a sports car and spent more on his shoes than I did on my mortgage. I'll admit, seeing the pictures of them together hurt more than I expected.
But it also fueled me.
This wasn't just about ending the marriage anymore. It was about teaching her a lesson she'd never forget. The opportunity came on our anniversary. Laura had insisted we go out for dinner, saying she wanted to celebrate us. The irony was almost laughable. I agreed, pretending to be excited, while secretly setting everything in motion. That night, Laura dressed to the nines. She looked stunning, her makeup perfect, her smile radiant. "You look beautiful," I said, and I meant it. But all I could think about was how much of a lie this moment was. We arrived at the restaurant, one of her favorites, and took our seats. The night started off well enough. We ordered wine, reminisced about our early days together, and even laughed at a few old stories. For a moment, I almost forgot what I was about to do. But then I saw her phone light up with a message from Jason, and the anger returned. I waited until dessert to make my move. As the waiter set down our plates, I reached into my pocket and pulled out an envelope. "What's this?" Laura asked, her eyes lighting up with curiosity. "Open it," I said, keeping my tone neutral. She smiled, probably thinking it was a gift, and tore open the envelope. Inside was a stack of photos, her and Jason at a hotel, holding hands at a cafe, kissing in his car. Her face went pale as she flipped through them, her hands shaking. What is this?" she stammered, looking up at me with wide eyes. "That," I said calmly, "is the truth. The truth you've been hiding from me for months." Laura's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "I can explain," she finally managed to say. "Oh, I'm sure you can," I replied, leaning back in my chair. but I'm not interested in your excuses. This is over, Laura. You and me? We're done. Tears welled up in her eyes. James, please. I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed through the quiet restaurant. Didn't mean anything? You threw away 10 years of marriage for something that didn't mean anything? Do you even hear yourself? She reached across the table, trying to take my hand, but I pulled away. James, I love you. I'll end it with him. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. I shook my head. It's too late for that, Laura. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I stood up, throwing a few bills on the table to cover the check. As I walked away, I felt her eyes on me, but I didn't look back. This time, I was the one leaving. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I filed for divorce, moved into a new apartment, and started focusing on myself for the first time in years. Laura tried to contact me, sending texts and emails, even showing up at my office, but I ignored her. I was done with the lies, the betrayal, and the pain. One day, I received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a letter from Laura, filled with apologies and promises to change. She begged me to give her another chance, to let her prove she could be the wife I deserved. I read it once, then tossed it in the trash. But it didn't end there. 2 weeks later, I came home to find Laura sitting on the steps of my building, tears streaming down her face. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice cold. James, I need to talk to you, she said. It's about Jason. I frowned, crossing my arms. What about him? Laura hesitated, her eyes darting around nervously. He's not who I thought he was. He's been blackmailing me. That caught me off guard. Blackmailing you? For what? She wiped her eyes, her hands shaking.
He found out about our finances, James.
He threatened to expose everything if I didn't give him money. I didn't know what to do. That's why I stayed with him. I thought I could handle it, but now he's threatening to come after you. Too. My mind raced. Was this another one of her lies? Or was she telling the truth? Either way, I wasn't going to let Jason's actions control my life. You should have told me this from the start, I said, my tone firm. But don't worry. I'll take care of it. Over the next few days, I worked with the PI to gather evidence against Jason. What we found shocked me. Jason wasn't just a con artist. He had a history of manipulating and exploiting women. I took the evidence to the authorities, and within a week, Jason was arrested. The closure should have felt satisfying, but it didn't. Laura's betrayal had left scars that no amount of justice could heal. She tried to reach out to me again, claiming she wanted to make amends, but I couldn't bring myself to let her back into my life. I'd already started to move on, and I wasn't about to go backward. In the end, I realized that leaving her wasn't just about punishing her for what she'd done. It was about reclaiming my life and finding the strength to build something new. And as painful as the journey had been, it was a lesson I'd never forget. Sometimes, the best way to find peace is to walk away from the things that hurt you the most.